What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, it is looking like the DeMar DeRozan Clippers rumors are heating up right now after we get breaking news that Paul George is intending to leave the Los Angeles Clippers and is looking like he will sign with the Philadelphia 76ers. So what could a sign and trade look like on that front? Then I also do want to talk about Zach LaVine and a possible trade to the Warriors, as apparently the Warriors denied a deal involving Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins. And then I do want to go over some of the top center free agent targets for the Chicago Bulls after they did lose Andre Drummond. But before we dive into that, if you guys could, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are less than 70 subscribers away from 8,000. We are so close to that milestone. So if you guys could, hit that subscribe button. Don't miss a thing around your Chicago Bulls. And hey, maybe if we hit 8,000, I'll go live for free agency tomorrow during the day. But let's dive into it. So DeMar DeRozan and the Los Angeles Clippers. So where does this start? So it starts with Paul George. And, you know, we did just get a report from Woj that he said it is unlikely that he is going to return to the Clippers. And Chris Haynes also said earlier today that it is more likely than not that Paul George does sign a multi-year extension with the Philadelphia 76ers. Apparently the Clippers aren't willing to give him a fourth year on that max contract. They've only offered him 3, but PG wants that 4-year deal, so it's just going to come down to, you know, which team is willing to offer him that. So where do the Bulls get involved here? So we know with where the Clippers stand right now, they still got Kawhi Leonard. They just brought back James Harden today on a 2-year, $70 million deal. So they are clearly still trying to, you know, compete for a championship. And, you know, with the Paul George domino still not, you know, technically, you know, fallen yet, like teams are going to start looking at, you know, DeMar DeRozan as a good backup option. So how could the Bulls pull it off? So taking a look right now at the Sixers cap space situation. So they got Norman Powell on a $19.2 million deal. He could be used to match salary with whatever, you know, sign and trade figure the Clippers and DeMar do agree upon. But PJ Tucker with 11.5. And then this is an interesting part. Russell Westbrook opted into his player option of $4 million. But then we got reports earlier today from Sharania suggesting that the Clippers are trying to move Russell Westbrook. So could this be a deal of PJ Tucker, Westbrook, you know, just to, you know, match salary a little bit with the Bulls, and then maybe the Bulls could swing a future first-round pick from the Clippers? It could be their pick for this upcoming season. Who knows where they're going to go? Obviously, they, you know, don't have as many first-round picks as other teams following the SGA deal. But I think the Clippers and DeMar DeRozan, if they do officially lose out on Paul George, I fully expect their attention to shift to DeMar DeRozan. And we are getting a report right now live here. The Clippers want to remain a highly competitive team. This was coming in from the Clippers front office, but they wanted the have greater flexibility under the new CBA rules is a big reason why they are not going to give him that 4th year. So I think, you know, if I had to call it, I said Philadelphia originally as where I could see DeMar DeRozan heading, but why not the Los Angeles Clippers? Like, DeMar gets a return home, play competitive basketball. They will be a playoff team. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And, you know, James Harden, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, Zubac, is that enough to get it done in the Western Conference? I don't know. I would probably lean probably not. But if they're all healthy, that's a hell of a ball club. Those are 3 players who can throw to at the end of the games, beat players off the dribble, and just get it done. And, you know, I've said this countless times. I think DeMar DeRozan's, you know, playmaking ability has gone underrated amongst NBA media circles and NBA fans. So, DeMar, if PG does go to Philly, keep your eyes out on a possible sign and trade with the Los Angeles Clippers. But you guys let me know. Would you re-sign DeMar DeRozan? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Now, let's break down this Zach LaVine report we got with the Golden State Warriors. So this is coming in from Chris Haynes. He said this on the Bleacher Report live show where he said that apparently the Warriors, before they did waive Chris Paul earlier today, that they turned down a deal around Andrew Wiggins and CP3 heading to Chicago. And, you know, when I first heard this report, I kind of looked at it a little side-eye on why, you know, the Warriors honestly said no to this. And, it gets me to my main point that I want to make is that I feel like DeMar DeRozan has somehow turned himself into the most underrated basketball player in the entire world. Like, I understand he has a bad contract. I understand maybe he is not the best locker room guy, but this is still a very talented basketball player. Can score at all three levels. A great athlete. Can beat anybody off the dribble and get the defense into rotation. Like, Zach LaVine as really became underrated. And, we heard the report from Bobby Marks that the Bulls were potentially going to try to attach a first-round pick just to move off his contract. I think that would be one of the most idiotic moves that the Bulls can make. If you're going to move off Zach LaVine, do not attach a pick to it, because what's the point of this whole thing for the Bulls? If you're embracing this youth movement, if you are embracing this tank, where do the Bulls, why giving up a pick? What would that do for Chicago? That would just absolutely, screw their chances of potentially landing one of these studs in a future NBA draft. So I don't necessarily see, the Bulls attaching a pick. I don't think, they would even offer that. I just think that would be a pretty, dumb move. But I did find it interesting that the Warriors shut down a deal of just Andrew Wiggins, Chris Paul, for Zach LaVine, especially with the situation they're in where they have Steph Curry, still has a couple more years of playing, top 10 player in the world, caliber basketball. Why would you not want to give him everything? He already delivered your franchise 4 rings. Maybe it was Curry saying, hey, I don't think me and LaVine would be a good fit. We obviously, don't necessarily know, but the Clippers are officially actually right now announcing the Paul George departure from Los Angeles. So I think a trade between the Bulls and the Clippers could be something we see break tomorrow between Zach LaVine. As yes, it is coming in official that the Clippers have announced that Paul George has decided to sign with another team, and so he's not going to be returning. Also, other big news breaking right now, Chris Paul intends to sign with the San Antonio Spurs. Pretty cool story there. But let's wrap up today's show talking about some free agent targets for the Chicago Bulls. I want the Bulls to replace Nikola Vucevic as bad as possible. I think the Bulls are going to be very active in the center market, especially now. Andre Drummond did sign a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. So I got 5 names that we could break down here. I broke down 4 of these early on a show today, but there was one guy I did not talk about, and that's going to be Jalen Smith. So Jalen Smith is a 6'9", 215-pound center who is just 24 years old. He was a former first-round pick out of Maryland, back with the Phoenix Suns, and he is a stretch 5. I absolutely love Jalen Smith. This past season, he shot 42.4% from downtown in just 17 minutes a game. He averaged 9.9 points, 5.5 rebounds, an assist a game. He averaged about 1 stock per game. And, I think Jalen Smith would be a great option for the Bulls in terms of replacing Vooch or Andre Drummond. He's pretty good in the sag coverage or drop coverage, whatever you want to call it. Really long wingspan, moves his feet, pretty well. And, maybe the Bulls could throw him a 3-year, $30 million deal, and hopefully that's going to be one of the better contracts in the NBA. So keep your eyes out on Jalen Smith. Absolutely love him. Should have probably talked about him on an earlier video, but I think it's now more likely than not that the Bulls do target a center in free agency. But my number one choice would be James Wiseman. Super athletic. Hasn't lived up to that number 2 pick hype, obviously, but he also really hasn't had a fair chance. And, once the Warriors let him go, like him going playing with the Detroit Pistons, are you really going to see a guy that, is he going to be playing winning basketball in Detroit? Hell no. We know what the Detroit Pistons are all about. They're all about winning 15 to 20 games every single season. And, I think James Wiseman would be a great choice. And if you would bring him in on a multi-year deal, I think that's what I would prefer. Kind of buy him low on the free agent market now, extend him for multiple years, and hopefully we're looking back on that deal in a couple of seasons and we're like, oh, wow, the Bulls took a chance on James Wiseman. It ended up working out. So keep your eyes out on him as another center option, but also Nick Richards of the Charlotte Hornets, very similar archetype of Wiseman, of that rim-protecting, lob threat type of center. He's also super physical, super strong, and he plays that way. And, he's a little more refined than Wiseman. I think he's got a little more dog in his game. And I think at that center position, man, like you need that. Like you need to have that dog. You need to have that fight. You need to have that grit. You need to play with that energy. And I like the way Nick Richards plays, so keep your eyes out on him as well. But then Jackson Hayes, another guy where he is a true lob threat. Isn't the rim protector as maybe Wiseman is, but, he can play some of that SAG coverage at a decently high level. Still a very young guy, was drafted by the Pelicans, went to the Lakers this past season. It's kind of been some sort of a journeyman here in the NBA, so keep your eyes out on him as well. But then what about Goga Bitadze? Now, Bitadze killed the Bulls this year, and then, you know what, this is a moment where, maybe I didn't know too much about the league, but I remember heading into that game, and I was watching Bitadze just absolutely kill the Bulls. I remember I turned to one of my friends. I'm like, who the heck is this Goga Bitadze guy? Absolutely lighting it up. He's got a really good push shot in that restricted area, or in between the free throw line and restricted area. Super smooth feet. I love his footwork. Great touch around the rim. Isn't, an elite rim protector, but he can actually switch on the guards pretty well and move his feet on the perimeter. So keep your eyes out on him as well. But, main point of this this video is DeMar DeRozan. As the Clippers have officially said, they will not be bringing back Paul George. So I think that completely opens it up for DeMar DeRozan to head to the Clippers in a sign and trade. And I think it could happen, man. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Turn on those notifications so if that move does go down, you guys won't miss it. And we'll be here breaking it down here on the channel. But day one of the free agency is damn near wrapping up as, not a ton of moves were actually made. So, pretty shocking there. Maybe these teams are trying to fight the tampering rules or, whatever it may be. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Make sure you are subscribed. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.